Hello and welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. How's it going, everybody? Well, you know how I like to get my podcast started, always with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. So if you would, a moment of silence, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Today I wanted to, talk to you a little bit about a little section of this book that I'm reading. And the book is called Addiction and Recovery. Basically, it's one of those blank books for dummies, right? So it's the Addiction and Recovery for Dummies book. And this is it right here. Well, I figured I don't know why I picked this book, but I figured I'd just get it and then read it and see what kind of informative things it had, maybe that I could share on the podcast, and maybe it'll help somebody, maybe it'll help me, in my journey of recovery and positivity. So I decided to pick it up, and there's a section in here that I read that really kind of I could relate to it, and so I'm going to read a little bit of the book to you and then kind of go back and kind of, just go over what we read, right? So let me put these glasses on and then we'll get started. So give me just 1 second. Alrighty, this thing here says that it says the medical definition of abuse is experiencing one or more of the following criteria within a 12-month period. And this says your reoccurrent use of substance results in failure to fulfill major role obligations at work, home, or school. The use of the substance in situations where it's physically hazardous, for instance, while driving a car. You have recurrent substance-related legal problems. You continue to use the substance despite persistent or recurrent social or interpersonal problems caused or worsened by use. For instance, arguments with your spouse about your consequences for your use. So, then it goes on to say non-substance or behavioral addictions. Addictions are behaviors you engage in that meet many of the same criteria as substance addictions. Behavior dominates your life. You feel compelled to do them. Examples are pathological gambling and sex addiction. So when medical criteria outlined in the preceding two sections are applied to behavioral addictions, the definitions become less clear. You can readily see how a behavioral addiction meets criteria for abuse, such as pathological gambling. But dependence criteria applied to as readily with addictions like workaholism, overeating, or excessive sex. Still, tolerate builds up for the behavioral addictions. You need to do more and more of the activity to engage in more and more risk in relation to the activity to get the same result, the same high. Okay, it says your personal definition of addiction, regardless of all criteria, you have a substance or behavioral addiction. You personally know because the actions involved in getting the substance or doing the behavior dominate your life. You may not want to reveal what you know to anyone else, but it's difficult or impossible to hide it from yourself. Sometimes the line between heavy use and abuse or dependence gets fuzzy. The case examples, then it gives these case examples. We're not going to go ahead and read into that. What we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to give you my personal experience as the case example. And, I guess I better keep these on because I got to go back. So, okay, first we had read that you experience tolerance to the substance, which is defined as a need for markedly increased amounts to achieve desired effect or there's a markedly diminishing effect with continued use of the same amount. Your experience withdrawals is evidenced by the withdrawal syndrome for the substance, or when medications prescribed to relieve the symptoms are discontinued. You have taken substance in a larger amount over longer durations than initially intended. You've made some unsuccessful attempts to cut down or control the use. A great deal of time and activities is spent obtaining the substance. Preoccupation with how and when you will get the next fix. You neglect or abandon important social, occupational, or recreational activities because of use. Your substance use continues despite knowledge that there are persistent recurrent problems related to your use. So I can definitely relate to those things because I know that in my abuse, well, the last stint of abuse that I had, which lasted like 5 years from the last time that I had a sobriety run, which was like 10 years. So the last relapse I had lasted 5 years, and I know that in that stint of addiction, I found myself exactly like what this book has noted, and I found myself I knew that I had this problem. I knew that I was doing things that were not healthy, that was doing things that could possibly kill me, or doing things to attain the drugs or whatever it was that I was addicted to. I was doing things that were illegal, number one, and it could land me in jail, or it could get you killed, or doing the drugs could get you killed. So yeah, you knowingly know that you're doing things that are bad, but you continue to do them anyway. So that in turn is where your mind chemically gets transmitted into thinking a certain way, and you are in the I don't give a F mode, because you keep on doing it. You don't care what the heck the results are. You don't care where you're going, what you're doing, just as long as at the end of that task you got what you needed. And so yeah, I mean, I personally would put myself in those unhealthy boundaries and in them unhealthy situations. So yeah, I could understand exactly what this book is saying, and to know that your life had become unmanageable because your life is trying to manage the addiction first and foremost. That is the top priority on your list of things to do for the day, is to do that before anything else happens in the day. And I can definitely relate to that. And then being involved with someone who also was in the addictive world, had a different drug of choice, but nonetheless, you're an addict. And I can remember a lot of the times going out to get her drug of choice before mine, and how the drug that she would use would make her sick, and her being just aggravated, agitated, just mean person. And then I could remember hearing her just crawled up in a ball and then just yelling out loud, like she was just internally just physically hurting. And anything that I did wasn't good enough because she was still in that addictive hurting state. So if I tried to give her some sort of pep talk that things were going to be okay, for her just to be patient, she didn't want to hear that shit. She would just be lashing out, talking about, I don't give a F, you're this, you're that, and you ain't worth this, and you ain't worth that, just go get it. That's all I need. And you'll never be number one. This is first. I need this first before I need you, so F you. And I could remember hearing those words come out of her mouth, and me also being in that addictive state, just, pissed off because she's talking to me this certain way, and then, you know, hurt at the same time because, you know, she's, you know, piercing my emotional being, and but I'm allowing that to happen, and you know, so I go out and, you know, try to get her stuff before I got mine. And I could remember coming back and having the stuff in my hand, and then I get there and I was like, okay, I got it. And then her, like, natural reaction, it was weird as hell because she would stand up and she would be like, okay, nothing's happening. Like, she would be cured in that instant. As soon as she knew that I saw it, as soon as she saw it, she was cured. She would get up and she would just be like, okay, great, I'm good. And okay, baby, and this and that. And okay, you know, what are we going to eat? And this, you know, I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, okay, this is like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. No, here's your fucking shit. I'm still pissed off because you just fucking, you know, chewed my ass up and down, and you want me to be cool with you? No. Here's your fucking shit. Now shut the fuck up so I could do mine. That's exactly what I felt. And so, you know, and then after she does hers, she's in this whole state of, like, you know, being all happy and want to be loving, and I want that's the last thing from my mind, because I haven't had mine yet. And now I'm pissed off, and she wants me to be in her world, and I can't because my world's not freaking happy like her world is. So I gotta still go out to get my shit, and then I come back, and then, okay, then I'm good. But then the day starts. But unfortunately, the day is not starting yet, because now we've already remedied the first part of the day. Now we gotta figure out what we're gonna do for the rest of the day so that we're not in that freaking mode. So we in turn have to go do other shit, and so that you can get more, and then once you had enough to cover the whole day and the next morning, then you were good. Then you can sit back and relax. So that to me is distinctly exactly what it says in here, and that it's your life is become unmanageable because you're doing everything for the addiction, feeling physically and mentally first. And it's just when you're in that addictive state, you're running around with blinders on because you don't give a shit about nothing else except getting yourself feeling better and getting the next, you know, getting that euphoric feeling fixed again. And you're going to do whatever you can to do that. And anything that's positive or anything else that was important in life, if you had to go pay your bills, if you had to go and, you know, go to work, or if you had to go, you know, visit somebody, or whatever the case is, all that fucking was in the back burner, and it was the last and the furthest thing from your mind, because you had an obligation to do this stuff first so that you can coexist with your with life and with, you know, with your significant other, because you're both gonna, it's just an argument of all day long, if not. So once you both had what you needed, then you were good. Then you can think about it, all the other stuff that needed to be done for the day. So man, and that is a stressful freaking life to put yourself through, and, you know, the stress capacities of one's body is extreme, man. I mean, you can, but it's unhealthy. You know what I mean? You can withstand a lot of it, but at the same time, it's just an unhealthy thing to do, because you're putting stress and you're overworking your internal self, and your, not only your mind but your organs, your the way you think. I mean, it's terrible, and you physically get tired. And yeah, so I can remember the last parts of the addictive world when I was there. Man, I was just I was just extremely tired, and then just tired of hearing the bitching of this girl in my head. and just all the ugly shit that she would say just really, was taking a toll on me, because I literally wanted to just, rip her head off. And that's, I mean, that my mentality started getting uglier and darker and darker and darker. I wanted to do ugly and dark things to this woman because of how she was treating me. And when I didn't have anything to remedy those feelings, then I would be more pissed and more willing to do something stupid. And I'm glad that somebody was looking out for me, because I was able to get out of that environment, by the grace of God and my higher power. That's who my higher power is, Jesus Christ, right? And this is not by any means any, religious lecture or anything like that, but it's just part of being in recovery and being part of a recovery 12-step community program, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'm not here, I don't back anything up. I don't back AA up, NA, none of that crap. I'm here, I do these podcast videos, as therapy for myself, to get out a word that may be encouraging and that may help somebody else, like it did help me. One day when I was sitting at a meeting, a story that a guy had said, resonated with me and my feelings and my spirit, that, it allowed me to take action and to move forward in the world of positivity and recovery. So yeah, it's a journey, and it's by no means an easy one, but it's an attainable one. And I know that once you get there, the days get easier as you go. The more repetitive you do things in a positive sense, the easier your life becomes. And then you start noticing that, and then you start attracting positive people, and positive things start coming your way. So it's great. But so just a little bit about that book, what I mean? Just in what I read, in those sections, really, I could relate to that. And it's for me, it's constant reminder. It's constant reminder of where I've been, and what I'm doing, and what I have to do, and what I need to stay away from to continue this journey of positivity and recovery. So, I think it's informative. So, you may, you might want to pick that book up, but it's called Addiction and Recovery for Dummies. And, thank you for watching the podcast today. I just wanted to share that with you guys today, and hopefully it resonates with somebody and it helps somebody get out, to do that first step, to get on that first rung of that ladder and get out of that darkness that you're in. And I know that those kind of things have helped me along the way to get out. So I like to give out the things that have helped me, so it may help somebody else. So I know if it helps me, and it will definitely help somebody else. So I appreciate you guys listening. If you do me a favor, please hit that like button, shoot me a thumbs up, hit the bell, or subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And it helped me definitely launch off some of these few of these new things that I got coming up here in the near future that I want to. I got a couple of projects that I'm working on that I'm hopefully that will launch off and into something positive. And I can't only do that, I can't do it by myself, so I really ask for the help. Hit the subscribe button, and I greatly appreciate you helping out and listening to my podcast. So until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.